All right, for anybody watching this YouTube video right away, you get the actual intro. What's going on? Don't get the sense that we're going to get a lot of people busting down the doors at 8:37 a.m. Eastern Time on an NFL Sunday. That doesn't mean we're not bringing the content. Quick NBA strategy show, taking a look at the 4 games on the main slate for Sunday. We will have live before lock later today. With Emac and Eddie again tonight. Move me around on this darn screen here. Yeah, I'm excited to take a look at these 4 games. Last night was yuck. Again, this NBA season is proving to be incredibly difficult so far. I really do think that it's the most difficult DFS sport to play. The wealth of information, the players have gotten so much smarter. I guess I don't want to, this sort of content is certainly at the forefront of, a lot of the reason why. But we got a lot to talk about. Shout out to Yahoo Sports for being the presenting sponsor of our strategy shows. You can get more information on signing up at Yahoo, including being able to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. All you have to do is check out Emac's cash game article. Puts that up every single day. You can't really beat it. I'm grabbing the link to yesterday's right now. I'm dropping it into chat for all of the 0 people that are in chat as of right now. The number's climbing. We just jumped from 2 to 13, so we're good to go there. This is going to be a really fun 4-gamer because I have a lot less interest in the NFL today. That Mavs-Blazers game looks fantastic. Wolves-Heat could have been if Jimmy Butler were healthy. But Mavs-Blazers is really what I'm looking forward to tonight, at least from a watching basketball perspective. I was really surprised to see that we're getting the 6 o'clock game included on the main slate. And even more surprised to see that Yahoo didn't include a 6 p.m. start time slate. They start at 7. Yahoo starts slates at like the weirdest times, but for some reason today is not that day. So it's it's the 7 o'clock lock for Yahoo today. Or you can include the 3:30 game and go the whole way. So that's where we stand. I'm just going to take a casual look through everything. I went through and built out minutes for each team this morning. Tried to take a look at some player props and stuff. Didn't have a lot up there. Nothing's up for Miami right now. They are just the walking wounded. And then Lakers still a little bit up in the air. Still don't know what Rondo is doing. Can we talk about the Golden State-Oklahoma City game? I didn't prepare anything for the Golden State-Oklahoma City game. A 3:30 start showdown game on an NFL Sunday is going to die on the vine. So, is there an advantage to playing NBA on NFL Sunday? I have no idea. Are people more forgetful for the NBA? Maybe. Are people chasing early NBA or NFL losses or using newfound money to get in? Probably not the latter, but maybe the former. I pretty much think that every day is the same, unless you're finding overlay. That's really what's going to change the odds there. But it's really hard to figure out what sort of. You have to assume that the player pool that is in your contest every day is the same sort of quality. It's really weird to think that there would be major fluctuations in your expected winnings on a day-to-day basis. So unless there's less people in the contest, you still have the same sort of odds to win every day based on your own personal skill set. I've never been a guy, at least not anymore. Back in the day, maybe. I don't think that that's the case as much any longer. I think you're just sort of every day is the same. You're just getting different slate sizes. YouTube chat, Slack chat. If you guys want to drop any questions in, we have up until basically 9:45 until the NFL show starts. So we will have the NFL strategy show, aka the NFL Deeper Dive, coming up at 9:45. That's Laffy, Ben, and the boss man, Alex Baker. So they'll be going from like 9:45 until around 11, going through each and every game for the final time before making way for myself and Chris Spags at 12 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, I'm saying that right. 12 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing Live Before Lock as we usually do. So check that out as well. What else do we have coming up today? We will have a Live Before Lock NBA edition today from 5 to 6 with Emac and Eddie. And then Live Before Lock Showdown edition. Big one tonight, too. Chiefs Packers. That'll be Emac and Eric going at 7:30 Eastern tonight, and then you'll get Dan Strafford and Chris Randone on the early bird breaking down Monday's NBA slate. Well, let's just dive in kind of casually. We could take a look at all sorts of stuff, maybe run a crunch or two. Actually, let's go ahead and run my first FanDuel crunch. FanDuel's been the place that I've been playing more often so far this season. Not really set up to battle every site just yet. Lots of moving parts in that first week of the NBA season, so trying to keep my action relatively limited so I don't have to bounce back and forth too much. Let's go ahead and get that in here, turn on some randomness, and let's just crunch out 500 lineups and see where we end up. Yeah, I didn't think we were going to have ownership caps that were set in a perfect way. Let's go ahead and bump up the ownership caps, and then we'll start talking shop, I guess. 4 games to break down. Shouldn't take all that long, but we have plenty of time to take questions if you're here. And then for the people listening on the podcast feed, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. iTunes, I use Overcast on the iPhone. We are now on Spotify, if that helps you at all. Slowly working to potentially be on Stitcher. You can find us everywhere, guys. You can find us everywhere. Back to Fantasy Cruncher. Bingo, bango. We're going to get some lineups now. Shazam, there we go. Lots of AD, lots of Justice Winslow. Not so mad about that. Grizzlies playing really fast. What about a Brooklyn and a Grizzlies stack? I mean, on a day like today with only 4 games, you're going to have bites at every single piece of this. So I don't have a huge problem with anything outside of be very, very careful rostering Hornets. They are the thing that is not like the other. 101.5 implied total, like 7 points less than anybody else on the slate. Alrighty, let's dig into that first game. As mentioned by GAB, we'll call you Gab, Grizzlies and Nets. So Grizzlies 109.25 implied total. Nets 113.75. It's a big time pace up spot for Memphis. See if Tom's got ownership up yet. I wouldn't expect it because, well, today is Sunday and NFL rules the roost. Not that that's a huge deal. So first thing up, first guy that I would say that stands out most to me is basically no one. It's tricky. I feel like everybody is priced really, really well for this game. So I would say Jaren Jackson Jr., 7,300 on FanDuel is the first piece that sticks out to me at least a little bit. Break this down by position, dig in a little bit more and see what looks best. So Jackson is the 3rd most expensive power forward on the slate. Yeah, it's like he stands out most to me from the Grizzlies, but I'm not sure that I'm going to get a ton of Grizzlies either way. What's showing up in the crunch? First Grizzly I have on here, Jay Crowder. That is not, and that is very much a positional outcome. Crowder, small forward. You've got LeBron at the top. You've got Justice Winslow there as well as one of the better value plays on the entire slate, which we will get to. I think that I am largely avoiding both the Grizzlies and the Nets. I don't think that there is pricing that stands out very well. Like if I just look through my player pool right now, I mean, Kyrie is Kyrie, but he's 10-3. He is the fourth most expensive guy on the slate, most expensive point guard, even more expensive than Luka. I greatly prefer Luka to Kyrie. Working our way through here, Dinwiddie, not all that interesting. I don't think Karis LeVert might be the best play dollar for dollar on FanDuel, but there's a lot of comparable shooting guards tonight, at least and they're all priced sort of the same. So figuring that one out is going to be a little difficult. If we make our way to small forward, we've got Taurean Prince looking rough at 5,800. I'm having a lot of trouble advocating for much of this Grizzlies Brooklyn game. Like if I just break this down, let's filter this by teams. So we'll look at, those aren't in order. We'll look at Memphis. We'll look at Brooklyn. Don't need this summary. So yeah, I mean, I would say that the guy that I like at least on FanDuel most from Brooklyn is going to be Karis LeVert. That's still not even all that much. Jaren Jackson or, I don't know, maybe Dylan Brooks from Memphis for 3,900. This is a really tough game. I just don't think that there's great pricing basically anywhere in the industry on either side here. I mean, Kyrie probably looks best for 17.4 on Fantasy Draft. I don't hate Jared Allen for $17 on Yahoo, but that even is still a little tricky. Let's run 500 more and get this loaded into my lineup sheet, and we'll see who really comes to the forefront. But this is really seeming like a game that I'm just going to not have. Kyrie going to abuse the young fella, Ja having big trouble guarding this far. Yeah, the problem is Kyrie going to be able to pay off a 10-3 price tag? You have these raw point monsters on the other side, like at other positions. We're talking about AD Towns, who has been just absolutely eviscerating the NBA right now. We've got LeBron. I think Justice Winslow is one of the more essential plays for today. So, and I prefer Luka to Kyrie by a pretty sizable margin. It's going to be really hard for me to get to Kyrie. I just don't see it today. If I take a look at DraftKings and just see what's around him, I would much rather have Luka. I would rather, you can make a case for Dame, $200 cheaper. I don't get the sense that I'm going to be getting to Kyrie all that much here. And really, exposure is going to be low. I wish that I could point something else out that I liked. Jay Crowder on DraftKings is probably the closest thing to something I'm interested in. And even that's kind of tricky. LL Cool Jeff, friend of the program. Wouldn't the question more so be, is Kyrie able to slow up Ja at all for a play there? I am very much not a believer in Ja Morant from a fantasy perspective right now. He's a guy that I will essentially not have for a pretty long time. If I'm grabbing anything on the DK side from this game, it's probably Jay Crowder or Jaren Jackson on DraftKings. Crowder 4,400. I think that makes a little bit of sense on this slate. And on the Brooklyn side, it's just really not a lot. I mean, did I get anybody on FanDuel? I got a lot of Karis LeVert, and I think that's just a positional thing. There aren't a ton of real legitimate options for shooting guard. It's Wiggins, McCollum, LeVert, I guess a little bit of DeLon Wright. Dwayne Bacon's price is kind of prohibitive. You can pay all the way down to Dylan Brooks, but what are you really getting there? Shooting guard's just kind of gross, and if you need to add up to 200 ownership points at shooting guard, you're just going to have a lot of some guys. So That crunch is probably close to done. Yeah, there we go. 1,000 lineups done. Let's load that in and see if any of these guys are actually showing up once I start to consolidate. Which my expectation is no. Alrighty, what do we have here? Let's clear out anything I had from yesterday. And then, so most exposed guys, let's try to take a look at just these games. So I did get to quite a bit of Karis LeVert, 37%, but I don't think that that's going to be a crazy number once we see ownership. 20% DeAndre Jordan, like I can very comfortably say that that won't happen when we get closer. That is not a flyer that I'm looking for. Although, maybe? Probably a slightly better fit for all of the Valanciunas minutes. I don't know. That's probably a deep cut that I'm not really looking to get to. On the Memphis side, yeah, I got to a bunch of Dylan Brooks. Again, that I think that's just going to be how shooting guard works. I got to Jay Crowder. I got to Jaren Jackson. I got to a little bit of Joe Val. Still on a bit of a minutes limit. Yeah, that all makes sense. Those numbers feel higher, but it is a 4-game slate. We'll see how that all plays out as we get through the rest of these guys. Alrighty. Yeah, I can't say that there's anybody that I like in this game. Ownership will be something that I tolerate. All right, we're moving to Dallas. The game I like the most. Dallas Mavericks, Portland Trailblazers, 111.25 implied total for the Mavs, 109.25 for the Blazers. I just can never stop getting CJ McCollum. Down to 6,500 though on FanDuel. If that price keeps tumbling, that's great. He just does so little. Man, that coffee tastes so good. Solo shows, guys. You gotta be slurping coffee. One thing I do want to ask, since I have everybody here and this is more of like a casual stream, how is the visibility on everything on my screen? Do I need to zoom in further to anything, particularly on this screen, so that you guys can see it a little bit better? Let me know in chat, comments, whatever. So let's start on the Dallas side with my boy Luka Doncic, 10-1 on FanDuel. 9,500 on DraftKings, 17.4 on Fantasy Draft, $44 on Yahoo is healthy. It's a healthy number. In my crunch, I got to 41% Luka. Very, 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 very okay with that. I thought I deleted everything in this column. There we go. Now I did. Did it change anything? No, not really. Yeah, so tons and tons of Luka. 41%, 22% DeLon Wright, 14% Jalen Brunson, 8% Maxey. No Porzingis, which I'm not terribly mad about. Luka's just my guy. He's one of my favorite options of the day. Let's delete these two columns or these two rows. I should be able to zoom in a little bit more for everybody. So let's go ahead and delete. Bump that up. Okay. I can't need to zoom a lot if some people are saying yes. You just need to get off your iPhone 5. That's about the best I can do to keep everything on the screen. At some point in time, I just run out of screen real estate. I just want Luka. He's too good. Player props back it all up. Looks like he's my fourth most owned guy. I won't end up with 60% CJ McCollum, so we'll dig into that a little bit later. What's my wife texting me? She's downstairs. Wife wants fantasy NFL advice. Maybe I should tell her to tune into the deeper dive in about an hour. I'll help her out in a little bit. Yeah, that CJ McCollum, I'm going to have to look into the CJ data. I don't really like that. But Luka is a guy that I want like an infinite amount of. There's a really good spot for him. He's probably going to be seeing a lot of defenders that aren't very good. Like, obviously Dame and CJ are going to have a problem with him. Like Kent Bazemore is the type of guy that's going to have to guard him, I guess. Or like Hazonia, Anthony Simons, but the traditional guards aren't going to be able to do it. Rodney Hood is terrible from a defense perspective. A wife that plays DFS, now that's a woman for life. No DFS for her. That's a season-long NFL league with her friends. But yeah, I would desperately like to get to some Luka Doncic, particularly on fantasy draft where he's 17-4. I think that's the best spot for him. All right, let's look at DeLon Wright's minutes. What did he do in the first couple? So he played 32 minutes in the most recent game and then 21 here in the opener. I've got him in for 28 right now. If he hits that 28 number, I think that's a viable spot to get to DeLon Wright. Again, shooting guard is a tricky spot. There's not a lot of guys that you're just looking at and thinking, oh, that makes perfect sense. Like CJ McCollum is sort of broken in here for some strange reason. It is going to be something I need to pay attention to, but everybody else looks kind of similar. So if you can save a little bit of money and go to DeLon Wright, I think that is viable. I would have expected to get to more Maxey, but he's kind of one note, so I'm not ultra mad about it. And I just think Porzingis is going to take some time to get to like neutral. Did I get how much did I even get? 8% Porzingis out of the 1,000. Went for 45 in this game against the Pels, but that is also what I would expect against the Pelicans. 5 blocks is ruling it there. That's 15 FanDuel points. That's a massive amount of help. You can't expect 5 blocks in every game. So I'd be very surprised if I had a lot of Porzingis or really much of any. I truly got 0 in the 150 that I'm ranking right now. It's just Luka all day. He just fills the stat sheet in so many different ways. He's ultra involved in the offense in a way that not a lot of guys are in the league. If I open up Cleaning the Glass right now, Luka this season, 32.9% usage rate. Still the same as last year, even with Porzingis. Obviously small sample and all, but monstrous assist rate. So he's getting everybody else involved. He's dominating the ball just in mass. He doesn't really take a ton of bad shots. Probably more than he should, but it looks like he's slowing that down a little bit. He's taking more threes so far this year, more shots at the rim, which is exactly what you're looking for. I think this guy is just one of the best players in the NBA, and at least we'll be able to show that by the end of the year. So get yourself some Luka. On the Portland side, apparently I can't get enough CJ McCollum. Now, $6,500 for him on FanDuel is a price that needs to be paid attention to because he is $6,600 on DK. That's a massive bargain. $12K on Fantasy Draft, also a massive bargain. $29 on Yahoo, much less so. Maybe the CJ McCollum play isn't as crazy as I would have thought originally. Let's take a look at Dallas's shot distribution so far this season and where they were last year. So if I take a look, I want to see defensive shooting frequency. All right, this year they are barely giving up shots in the mid-range, and they have given up a ton of threes. Last year was sort of the opposite. They gave up a lot in the mid-range. Again, this is only 2 games, so it's really hard to read into this, but CJ lives a little bit more in the mid-range, so I am going to want to walk him back, but I did go through Portland. So I have CJ and this is the problem. I was having a lot of honestly, I have a lot of the Blazers under projected based on their player props for today. If I scroll down to get to Portland here, I've got CJ at 20.4 actual game points. Ooh, the Hornets and Lakers game is now posted, so I can take a look at that when we get to it. CJ's player prop is 20.5. It's right where I have him. His rebounding prop is just north. It's 3.5 with some action on the top end. I've got him at 4.2. I guess that I can bring that down slightly. Maybe bring it down there. And then his assists, the assist prop for today, CJ McCollum, 3.5, little action to the under. So that's where I'm at. I just don't know what else to do with him. I'm confident in my projection, but it just sort of breaks everything when I try to roster CJ McCollum. It's kind of rough. So today might be a CJ McCollum day for me. I like the price on FanDuel. I'm relatively agnostic on DraftKings. The pricing isn't that much better. For the rest of Portland, I got a little bit of Rodney Hood, and that is largely it. Some Zach Collins. Doesn't strike me as a great spot for Whiteside. 8,300 on FanDuel is just a big price as well. And I'm going to do everything I can to try to get more Towns. So I know I didn't get much in this crunch, and he's incredible. The Rodney Hood shout, I think, is kind of interesting. 4K on FanDuel. He's, again, priced cheaper than he is on DraftKings. That's something that I really like to pay close attention to. And now I'm realizing that I didn't even talk about Dame, but 9,900, I just greatly prefer Luka Doncic in the exact same game. If I had to pick between Dame and Kyrie, it's probably Kyrie, but it's close. Although if Dallas is going to keep giving up an infinite amount of threes, I think that that's going to make Dame be better in hindsight. On the DraftKings side, if I just take a quick look at this game and sort of who looks best, it's very clearly Luka. And then probably CJ. Even CJ for 6,600 on DraftKings is something that I'm a little bit more interested in. I'm way too high on CJ McCollum, I think, which has been a testament of my DFS play for a few years. Go Zach Collins. Let him break out. Really anxious to see what Anthony Simons looks like over the next few months. Portland's been touting him pretty heavily. Go to Minnesota. Minnesota Timberwolves, Miami Heat. 115.25 implied total for the Wolves. 108.75 for the Heat. Big time favorites here for the Wolves. Jimmy Butler's still out. And so is the rest of the team. I know that sounds like mild hyperbole, but it's kind of not. So we have no Dion Waiters because he's not very happy with the team. Jimmy Butler is away for the birth of his daughter. Derrick Jones Jr. Was injured yesterday, left groin strain. He is doubtful for this game. James Johnson, not with the team. Udonis Haslem, doesn't really matter. So I don't know. I've got Chris Silva in there. I've got a 9-man rotation. I'm not entirely sure where all of these minutes are going to come from, but I am very sure that I like a lot of the Miami Heat today, unfortunately. Justice Winslow is the guy that I like most, clear across the board. He might be my favorite play in the industry overall. 7K on FanDuel, 7,200 on DraftKings, 13.8 on Fantasy Draft, and $21 on Yahoo. He's going to play monster minutes. He fits on this team better than anybody else. If somebody else is running the point, he is playing, small forward essentially, or power forward even at this point. He's just sort of the Swiss Army knife for Miami, particularly now that Josh Richardson is not with this team. I have him in for 36 minutes. By all accounts, I see him soaking up that much time. So Justice Winslow, by far for me, my favorite play from Miami. and that's backed up in the crunch. 86% Justice Winslow on my first crunch. More than okay with that number. We'll see where that ends up as we get closer to lock. But it's small forward. You're either paying all the way up for LeBron James, or you're trying to figure out who in the Miles Bridges, Taurean Prince, Jay Crowder, Joe Harris group is going to be the thing that pops. Just bet on opportunity in this case and go for Justice Winslow, and that's clear across the board. It doesn't matter what site you're playing on. I mean, obviously, I don't love the DK price for him at 7,200. I don't like when guys are priced heavier on DraftKings than they are on FanDuel, but still, that's just where I want to be. Similar story for a lot more here from Miami. I've got Bam in for 30 minutes. If that's the case, I think he looks really interesting as a center. I got 57% Bam. I got to more Bam than I probably should have on that first crunch. I didn't really get to all that much Towns. 12-2, just a little bit of a prohibitive price tag given where everybody else is at. Oh yeah, Bam is a power forward on FanDuel. Crazy people. Yeah, Bam for 71, just a much better option than Jaren Jackson. I don't really see how you would want to take anybody that's below him in front of him. So as long as he can stay on the floor, I don't see much of an issue with it. Bam is a guy that I'd like to get to. 7K on DraftKings is a little tough, but he's $20 on Yahoo. The Winslow Bam combination on Yahoo looks great. CJ or Jaren Jackson Jr., that's a weird combination of people. Let me take a look at it quick. I assume that you're asking that question because it's a DraftKings question. So I would rather have CJ than Jaren Jackson Jr. Just jammed in Kyrie Luka Brow in a lineup on DK with another intriguing young mystery stud, and he's not cheap. I might be in the winner's circle. Will Jaren Jackson Jr. commit three personal fouls in the game's first 7 minutes? Not out of the realm of possibility. Yeah, so I want a lot of Winslow. I want a lot of Bam. I got to Kendrick Nunn a ton. I think that makes a ton of sense. 4,900 on FanDuel. Again, he's just dramatically less priced than he is on DK. Played a bunch of minutes, looked decent as well. I've got him in for 28. They're just going to need guys to play. So at that price tag, happy to go there. $11 on Yahoo. If you're looking for value, Kendrick Nunn is that guy. That's just super, super cheap. Similarly, Kelly Olynyk, $11 on Yahoo. Gonna have to play some time. I've got him in for 26 minutes right now. Fantastic price tag there for Yahoo. A little bit less enamored with Olynyk on the other sites. I still got to 17% on FanDuel. I got to 20% Myers Leonard. He's 3,600 on FanDuel tonight. He's a punt center option, and he will benefit directly if Bam Adebayo happens to get into foul trouble or something. I still have Myers Leonard at 22 minutes, but I think it's way more likely to see him get more minutes than it is to get dramatically less minutes. And then we've got everyone's favorite Tyler Hero, mid-fives in price tag right now. I don't get the sense that I got a lot of him. At 10% on the full crunch. Good in the opener, 34 minutes. 8 boards, not something that I would expect to see a lot of him. Plus he picked up 2 steals. The price jumped to 5,300 in the next game. He's just not the value that he was previously. You need him at the cheaper price tag. I like the idea of Dragic at 5,900. I think I don't want to get as much as I have, but I think that's kind of reasonable to get both of these guys. Went for 45 yesterday against the Bucks. Got to the line a ton, got everybody involved, 8 assists. Price is only barely up, so I'm more than okay going to Dragic. I really like getting Dragic and Nunn. And I expect to have a ton of exposure to the Miami Heat today. Harden 2 for 18 last night from 3. Solid. Yeah, don't get me started on Harden. He's my most exposed guy yesterday. Kelly Olynyk or Crowder on DraftKings. Both are 4,400. Let's take a look. If I look at Jay Crowder, And I'll look at Kelly Olynyk. Olynyk for me. That could look a little bit different if somebody who mentioned that Daquan Crowder if Clark is out. Yeah, if Brandon Clark is out, it probably ends up being Crowder. But for right now, I would rather have Kelly Olynyk. I think that works out a little bit better. Wow, got 100 of you in here. That's fun. Yeah, there's a lot to like on Miami. You are spot on, Unk. Grab yourself some Miami Heat, guys. Now let's talk about Minnesota for a little bit. Look, I barely got Towns. 15%. I mean, 12-2 is a big price tag. I will take a deeper look at that. I expect to get a lot more. He could break everything. He has been just downright terrifying. Just seems like value is easier to find at center, but 22%. DeAndre Jordan doesn't need to show up either. 72.3 in the opener. 83 in game 2. He's up $700 since their second game. He's up $1,200 since the opener. He's doing everything on the floor. He had 6 stocks in both games. 3 and 3 in the opener, and then 4 steals and 2 blocks in game 2. He's not turning the ball over. He's dirty, guys. He's really, really, really good. I do want to pay close attention to his ownership today because I do think that there are other viable options, but I would not tell a single soul to not have Karl Anthony Towns today. That would just be silly. He's so damn good. He is for 10-1 on DK, he might be the best play of the day. Let me double check that. Yeah. Karl Anthony Towns on DraftKings is very clearly the best play. I would much rather have Towns than anyone else, including Luka. Full stop on DraftKings. Karl Anthony Towns is the guy that you need to have in your lineups. On FanDuel, it's a little bit different. Although he really is on a different planet there as well. Probably going to hurt my Anthony Davis exposure when all is said and done. And LeBron is going to be very difficult to get to, I think, by the time I get closer to lock. Just jam in Karl Anthony Towns on DraftKings or on Fantasy Draft at 17.9. He's $52 on Yahoo. I think that you get a little bit easier. You can get away from that a little bit easier. But Towns is the guy. If I take a look at the rest of my crunch from Minnesota, got a lot of Wiggins, got a lot of Covington. Look, I like Robert Covington a lot as a basketball player. I have like 30% of him right now. He's a power forward on FanDuel, which is helpful. I would much rather have Covington than the guys around him. Like I feel more comfortable going to Covington over like a PJ Washington or a Brandon Clark, even Zach Collins. So I'm going to have some Robert Covington. Be interesting if he were a $5,700 small forward, how that would really change, because he would be just massively more important to me than anybody else at that position. I would have a lot of him and Justice Winslow and a lot of savings. But I like going to Covington. And Andrew Wiggins is Andrew Wiggins. I don't know how to get that dude right. He's 6,700 on FanDuel. There's just so little interesting options on shooting guard for FanDuel that it makes it really hard. How do you pick between Andrew Wiggins, CJ McCollum, and Karis LeVert? They're all essentially equal to me. Of them separated by 2 fantasy points. It's a really tricky spot. Wiggins is the most unreliable NBA player, period. I will never own him again. Well, that's a terrible idea. Never just don't own anybody. That'll cost you money. But I agree with you that he's unreliable. If he's going to shoot 27 times, you got to roster him a lot. If you're going to shoot 13, he is going to let you down a lot. He just doesn't do anything else on the floor. 2 assists in 69 minutes. That is not nice. I just don't know what else you do at shooting guard on FanDuel today. It's really hard. Yeah, like, I mean, ownership is going to play a big story here. If any one of these guys is getting really underrepresented, I think that you can make a very easy pivot. But that Wiggins, McCollum, LeVert, DeLon Wright section, I just want the guys that's least owned. Because I'm having a hard time separating them. DeLon Wright makes it back in salary. Didn't get much Teague. Got a little bit of Napier as the 4K backup on FanDuel. I think that's reasonable, but look, get yourself Towns. Get yourself Towns. None for the win. All right, let's go to the Lakers now. And this one is one I need to take a quick gander at because we didn't have all of the information when I first started. We can make a couple updates live on the fly here. Let's hop to the Lakers. We still don't know the status of Rondo. I have him in right now. Who the hell knows? If we take a look at some of the rates, Anthony Davis, 25.5 points. That will work. Avery Bradley getting some sort of projection for reasons that I'll never understand. He's at 9. I can give him a slight boost. Probably just needs an extra minute. We'll give Avery Bradley 25. We'll pull one from KCP. That should be enough. Danny Green projected 9.5, so that one will work. JaVale, not a name that's on there. Probably still need that number in there. LeBron James projected 24.5 points. A little bit too much LeBron today. So yeah, I can safely say that I will not have LeBron James. That's the 4 Lakers. Let's take a look at rebounds now. Rebounds for AD, I have 11.3. Line is set at 10.5, juice to the over. I'm going to leave it. Avery Bradley, 2.5. Sure. Danny Green, 4. That's a little high. We'll pull down Danny Green's rebounding rates. And then... this freeze? Uh-oh. Model froze. Model crashed. That's never fun. Never fun. Enable content. Get back in the model here. Did it get any of those changes that I just did for the Lake Show? Probably not. At least the stream's still going. Could have been worse. All right, let's get back in here and fix these guys. So, back over to the props. AD was 25.9. Can't remember what I switched already. All right, that'll work. LeBron is the one I needed to give a haircut. That'll work. Leave JaVale. If Anthony Davis, that's fine. Danny Green needs less rebounds. And then LeBron doesn't even have a rebound prop. Actually, does that just need to be refreshed? All right, LeBron's rebound prop is 7.5. Projected right now for 7.8. I will take it. Finally, assist. AD, not a guy that gets assists all that often. He's at just north of 3, so we do want to bump that up a little bit. That'll help to get a little bit more AD. Danny Green doesn't get assists. Avery Bradley doesn't get assists. Let's knock those guys back a little bit. Hop to LeBron. LeBron's assist rate, not there. Let's refresh. 9.5. I got him at 7, so big time bump. Looking to get people involved. Call it there. Let's hop back to the Lakers. 114.5 implied total for the Lakers. 101.5 for the dreadful Charlotte Hornets. We'll start on the Lake Show side. Wow, this doesn't even have like my updated lineups. Like, craziness. The old crash bit me here. Crunch workbook I don't have to care about, but can I save over this model file? Is that working? Is that working? Feels like it's not working. Come on. There we go. Now we're back in business. So this is the tale of two guys. It's AD, it's LeBron James for right now. We kind of know that already. That shouldn't be terribly shocking. I got a lot of AD. I got significantly less LeBron, and I got a little bit of Rondo. So let's touch on that. AD is 11-5 on FanDuel, 10-4 on DraftKings, 18-5 on Fantasy Draft. So if I take a look, let's look at DK first, since I have a little bit less to go by since there's no crunch. I like AD a lot. I'd rather have Towns. On DraftKings, you can make an interesting case for flipping a coin on AD or LeBron. Like if you go to Towns, it's probably easier to save that $500 and go to LeBron. Now, I would rather just have Luka instead of both of those guys. Actually, that's not even true. No, I would... this is just such a great spot for them because the Hornets are so damn bad. They're so bad. Like on FanDuel, it's easy. I don't need LeBron James. I would rather have Justice Winslow and figure it out on the other end to make sure that I can get Luka Doncic. Although it's close. Anthony Davis, on the other hand, is on an island at power forward. And that's sort of figuring out whether you're going to AD or Towns, I think, is the most important piece of today. Because I think Anthony Davis is in a fantastic spot. But Karl Anthony Towns is on a completely different level than the rest of the centers on FanDuel today. If you make me choose, I think I have to take AD for $700 less on FanDuel. It's Towns on DraftKings for sure since he's cheaper, but on FanDuel, I think I would rather have Anthony Davis. Is that crazy, chat? I don't know. That's where I'm at. So, give me AD on FanDuel. I'm going to have a lot less LeBron James just because I think he's harder to get to, and I'm going to have so much Justice Winslow. But I'd rather have Anthony Davis than LeBron James on FanDuel. And then on Fantasy Draft, pretty much the same story as on DK. On the Hornets side, Bleck, I got to a very tiny amount of Miles Bridges. Cody Zeller is a pretty good value, all things considered, at $6K. He's playing more minutes. I think that Cody Zeller is probably worth a little bit of a look. I don't think that that's the right number there. 18? Why is that showing us 2.9? Makes no sense. I guess Zeller is worth a look on FanDuel, 5,300 on DraftKings, probably worth a look there as well, but how do you pick anything from Charlotte? How do you pick anything from Charlotte? It's just so hard. I'd say that I like Zeller there. Let me go ahead and hit everybody with what I would say are my favorite pieces of everything. So on FanDuel at point guard, Luka Doncic, Goran Dragic, Kendrick Nunn. At shooting guard, Wiggins, McCollum, LeVert, DeLon Wright, Dylan Brooks if you need to fully punt. I do like LeBron, but I like Justice Winslow so much, probably better than anything else on the slate because of his price, and I think it'll be easier to just try to get the bottom right. Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo, Robert Covington. where I'm at on FanDuel for power forward. And then center, it's going to be Towns and then hope for the best. Myers Leonard looks like an interesting punt at 3,600 because if something goes wrong with Bam Adebayo, I think you're looking at a lot of Myers Leonard minutes. Kelly Olynyk, sort of similar boat. On DK, guys I like the most: Karl Anthony Towns, AD, LeBron, Goran Dragic for 5,400, Kelly Olynyk for 4,400, Justice Winslow 7,200. That's where we're at, guys. I wanted to take a quick lap through everything. I'm going to try to do these shows every Sunday around 8:30. Get something up for the NBA. If you guys could hit the like button for me, that would be great. We really want to see how these Sunday shows can do. So if we can get a little bit of traction, that would be awesome. Please subscribe to the channel. We have so much content going on right now. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. You don't want to miss anything. NFL Deeper Dive coming up shortly after this with Dave Lochran, Ben Raza, and the boss, Alex Baker. And then myself and Chris Baggs will be live before lock for the NFL at noon. You'll get Fast Eddie and EMAC from 5 to 6. And who am I missing? What am I missing? Eric and Eric live 7:30 tonight for Packers Chiefs. A little bit of a showdown breakdown. Ryan O'Leary, what about on Yahoo? Just realized that I don't have my Yahoo pivot table set up. I can bounce through it in pretty quickly here. Yahoo is going to be, favorite plays are going to be Jay Crowder, Maxi Kleber for the minimum, Hassan Whiteside, Winslow, Adebayo, Nunn, Olynyk, Dwayne Bacon, Cody Zeller. That's about it. All right, guys. Thank you very, very much for joining me. Happy to go through this all. If you have any questions, I'll be around in Slack up until NFL lock at 1 o'clock. Go Liverpool today. Going to be awesome. Thank you for joining me. Hit the like button as you leave. And I'll talk to you guys again later. Bye.